Grand Rising, and welcome to the Voice of Cheryl. I am Toothless Tiger. I'm going to start today. I want to start off with thanking a few more people that was gracious and hit my Cash App. And I don't want you to go unnoticed. And I may mispronounce your name, but it is not my intention. Samira Alston, Alicia Powers, and Tanika Moore. I want to say thank you. Okay, now that we've thanked my people, I want to go and ask everyone, if you would, please like this video. And if you have not subscribed, I'd like for you to subscribe. So after you listen to it, if you hear anything that can help you, please subscribe. And once you subscribe and like the video, leave a comment. It means a lot to me. And after you leave a comment, then I'd like for you to share the video with at least 3 people. I'm going to start. I was on Mr. Skinny's last night and I had a beautiful time. I had an opportunity to share the platform with April and Sister T, TY, Rick Rose, and if I left anybody's name off, please forgive me. Real TV just came to me. You were there. And I want to just say that we had a beautiful time. Um, every time I go over to Mr. Skinny's, I have a beautiful time. And so I want to talk about a few of the things that we talked about last night, especially as it relates to me. And especially if that's your first time hearing me and you never heard any of my other videos, I'm going to go back because I have so many new subscribers. I would like for you to get to know me. And so I came to YouTube actually to tell my journey. And my journey for the past 8 years, my life is 63. But I wanted to let people know what I had been doing. I had a question that I asked myself, and that was, who were we before we were slaves? And I never really had wondered about that before my son went off to college and came back and we started having conversations. And, I had to come to the realization because I wouldn't listen to anything he had to say at first, but I had to come to the realization that, we tell our children to go off to school and we want them to learn and we want them to be so much, better than we are as far as making a living and having a life. Um, but we don't listen to anything they tell us that they learn. So I started listening to my son, and then he told me about 1 or 2 scholars that he was listening to. And I started looking at them, and for me, they're scholars because they know our history and they know it very well. And so I started looking at the ones he told me about, and then I started just looking and surfing for myself. And I started looking at Dr. Phil Valentine and Dr. Barry Shango, Dr. Francis Chris Welsing, Dr. Joyce DeGrury, Dr. Umar Johnson, um, Dr. Claude Anderson. And then I started looking at Baba Dick Gregory. And I ran across Taj Tariq Bey. And I looked at Dane Calloway. And out of all of the scholars that I looked at, and I took something from all of them, I have notebooks of notes that I've taken. I'd sometimes even just stop the video and write it word for word. I also listened to Dr. Ray Hagins, and he used to be a minister of a Pentecostal church. And then once he started learning who he was, he became Pan Africanist, and he has the African village. But with all of the scholars, they all seem to have a lot of things in common. Some of the things are a little different, but they have a lot in common. But I kind of favor Taj Tariq Bey because he was the first that I ever heard that told us or told me who I am as a person by way of my bloodline. And he told me that as far as people that we call different things, we're all really the same people. It is the hegemony that has been put upon us that have us calling each other different things, therefore keeping us divided, therefore separating the home, because we know a home divided cannot stand. This home that we call America and the country, the United States of America, is really not exactly what we're told that it is. For one, this is a continent, and we have three bodies of, I would say, United States on this continent. We have Mexico, we have Canada, and we have this place we call United States of America. So, I listened to him, and he taught me something that no one has ever told me before, and that was about the etymon and knowing the origin of a word. Because we say a word this way, and that truly is the way it is. But if you look at the older dictionaries, they are humongous. And when you look at those older dictionaries, you will see so many numbers of definitions. And, the more contemporary we get, which is modern, then the dictionaries tend to start leaving out a lot of the definitions. So I tell you, it's amazing when you see one of the older dictionaries and how many pages, and one word could take up about 4 or 5 pages. It's really a sight to see. But through it all, it is good to see, because then you start developing a deeper interest in what you're being told. And one thing that I like and I share with you is, please don't take my word for anything I say. You can challenge it by researching for yourself, because it's nothing like having the knowledge for yourself. It is so very liberating. And I have a couple of things that I'm going to read this morning. Won't be a lot, but I wanted to read a couple of quotes. I wanted to read a couple from the Prophet Noble Drew, Ali, and that is the man who brought um, to America the Moorish Science Temple and the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And the first one was a civics organization, and he ended up registering again a few years later as the religious branch of that organization. And of course, with the signs of the time, he did what he had to do. Marcus Garvey had a movement of wanting to go back to Africa, and they worked together on getting our people in a place where we can become nationalist again, because we lost our nationality many years ago. Some of the things that I would love to share with you guys must be shared in another forum. One of the reasons is when you're in someone's house, you must respect their home. And although we have freedom of speech, being who we are as a people, our speech is not that free. Uh, they're kind of rough on us. And so I don't want to say anything that would cause me not to be able to talk to you at all. So I give you keys, is what I want to offer you. It's just some tidbits of knowledge, and then you can research them and learn them for yourself. I am not trying to convince you of doing or saying anything that you choose not to do. What I want to do is just point you in the direction, because a lot of us want to know, what can we do to change our current conditions. Well, first we have to change ourselves, and then once we change ourselves, then we can actually help somebody else. But while we're changing ourselves, we can help people along the way. So it's not like we got to wait until, it's kind of like, when you hear people say, I got to wait, I ain't gonna go to church right now, I'm gonna wait until I quit doing what I'm doing, then I'm gonna go to church. Well, you probably don't need to go then. I think you might need to go when you're in the middle of whatever you're doing, if you want to be considered delivered from it, because you would be with like-minded people. One of the things I've learned is there is two bodies that we have, and we don't learn this in school, but the first body is your physical body. The second body is the energy that's around your body. And that's the metaphysical part of who you are. With that being said, that's where your energies come in. That's how you can tell if you know how you meet somebody and you just feel like you don't jive with them, or you just hit it off right away. Those are your energies. And what we have done, we have been put in a position to suppress our energies. So we don't even know that we have that power of energy. And what we do is we fight daily just to live. I mean, just to go to work, just to rear our children. And so we have to go through so many struggles that we forgot about who we are. So, the few things that I want to read to you, I want to start out by saying that black is dead in the eyes of the law. I want to say that again. Black is dead in the eyes of the law as it relates to people, for there are no black people anywhere in the world. And I have this book, and I want to just show it to you. And this is under the Fair Use Act. This is Black People Are Dead in Law. So restore your citizenship. And the author is Isa Ray L. It's a very good book. Now, I also want to show you this book, because what I come to know is we really don't know much. There are certain subjects that we were not taught on purpose, and we were given just a little bit of the subjects that we were taught. The subject of English and linguistics, we were not taught etymology. We were not taught phonology. We were not taught morphology, but we were given semantics. Okay. Now, this book here is Mere to More, Kemet Until Now. And this is actually giving you, let me let you see who it's by, Cosmo L. This book is just giving you a breakdown of how the writing started and the meaning of the word more. It's very interesting Very small book, but I think that you will learn. And what it tells you is like how this is how the alphabet and stuff used to be. This is what the writing looked like. And it evolved into the alphabet. I don't know if I'm having this right where you can see, and you sure can't see that little. That's what writing used to look like. Okay. I'm not great at trying to make it straight, but I want to read you something to quote from Malcolm X. And he said, look up the word more. It will tell you that more means black. Mm. Well, if Negro means black and more means black, then they're talking about the same people all the time. And when he said it's more means black, they used to call us way back blackamoor. And you can find this definition of a Moor in this dictionary. And the dictionary is the New Century Dictionary, Deluxe Edition, copyright 1959. And I actually went out and purchased that book. And I want you guys to see the book. It is truly a big book. And I know I'm probably doing too much, but this book was too big for me to have it. It's too big for me to have it in my lap. But this is the dictionary. It's very old, and I got it for a very good price. They kept it very nice, though. You probably can't read that gold writing, but it's a very nice dictionary. Very big, very big. So you see how the dictionaries are today compared to the dictionaries of yesterday? You see how it's very important for us to start just helping ourselves and learning for ourselves. I want to go on to tell you a little bit about the education system. The education system, there is a book that I purchased. On one of Kwame's shows, somebody was telling him something about trades back in the day, and he was interested in finding out about that. Took myself out. What I did was I went online and found this book, and it is The Education of Blacks in the South. And this book is from 1860 to 1935. This is the book. And the author is James D. Anderson. Very, very, very good book. And I just want to read a line or two out of this book. It says, the white people are to be the leaders, to take the initiative, to have the directive control in all matters pertaining to civilization and the higher interests of our beloved man. And the part that I thought that was most intriguing is when I read this line. I'm going to read a couple before that so you can understand it. We must use common sense in the education of the Negro. Most important, we must recognize in all its relations that monumentous facts that the Negro is a child race at least 2,000 years behind the Anglo-Saxon in its development. And I thought that was just shit, I thought that was just utterly ridiculous. I'm going to tell you. I couldn't believe it, but I can believe it. So we move on to 1902, and we come to the philosophy of the founders of the General Education Board, and that is John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates. Name sounds familiar? 1902. And this is their statement on the founding page. It says, in our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present education conventions fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We should not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have an ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple, as well as very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life, just where they are. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, and on the farm. Now, that's our education system. And that's why you hear me say that this is docility training for animals under the animal husbandry and herd mentality. So, when you understand, understand, and overstand that it is by design that our schools are like they are, it is by design that we are like we are. But I have a couple of quotes from Noble Drew Ali. And the first thing he said was, if you want to change a people, change their literature. Marcus Garvey said, liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men. And a quote from Noble Drew Ali, if I could just get you all thinking again, you would save yourselves. Then I explained to people how I am and where I am today as far as religion goes. I am not into religion anymore, but I do have a faith, a strength, a hope, a connection to the source. I don't have a name for the source today. I have honor and integrity. We need to get in the honor of our ancient mothers and fathers, as all civilized people are. We have been taken out of our element of who we were, not out of our land, because we are indigenous to this land. These are not things that I believe. These are things that have been proven. And what I did was researched, and I found them to be true for me. The only thing I can say in this life that is Close to perfection is mathematics. Mathematics, 1 plus 1 is 2 all over the world, no matter what language you speak. 1 and 1 is 11, possibly. But again, if you put that plus in the middle, then it's going to be 2. And that will never change. So, what I ask everybody is to have an open mind. You don't have to believe like I believe. You don't even have to think what I think. No, I am not an atheist. No, I do not like God or dislike God, I guess I should say, because someone asked, did I dislike God? It's just today that I understand life a little bit different than I did before I started on this journey. And I don't want to take away anybody's understanding of who they are because you have to come into this knowledge on your own. And if you never come into this knowledge, it's okay because that's your choice. But I chose to take a path less traveled. And oftentimes you find yourself alone because, people literally stop talking to you because of the change in a belief system. But I think as we become adults, we have to do less believing and start knowing some things. And I come to know that the way this world is ran, it's nothing like what I thought it was, or my mom before me, or her mom before her. We were taught everything that we know because they separated us from ourselves. And a lot of us say we have Indian in our blood or whatever, but I come to know that all of us are the same people. And those tags, those labels that we wear, is to divide us and to separate us. You may never come to know that, but it is written for us to know, and all we have to do is research. It is also written in Second Chronicles 7, I believe it is 14th scripture, and I'm paraphrasing. If my people that are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land. I also like this scripture over in Mark. And what Mark is telling you, I believe it's Mark 12:27. What he's telling you is God is not the God of the dead. He's the God of the living. So if we understand that he is the God of the living and that black is dead in the eyes of the law, it's called silver litter mortuus, then we need to understand we have work to do. We have children to save. We have elderly parents to take care of. So I'm not going to talk long because what I want to do is try to do shorter videos, put out a key or two, and then come back together. I will be going live more, but I'm just not ready right now. But I will be going live more, so I make appearances, and I am so grateful to everyone that has allowed me to come on their platform and share my knowledge. Again, I'm only sharing my knowledge and what came to me as I researched and did what people did before me and went to the places that they've gone. So if you want what we have, and I have true freedom today inside of me, I still live in this place we call America. I respect all people because I understand that this is based not on the color of my skin or yours or anyone else's. It's based on class and status. And so it doesn't matter what you look like because all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and they're definitely not all for us. So I have to learn to use more discernment, and that's what I use. I ask you to do the same. I've learned to meditate. I've learned to um, drink water. I cannot stress that enough. We need to stay hydrated, take care of your immune system. I was born with a third degree heart block, and I have a pacemaker that I've had for 38 years. And people see me smoke because I'm a smoker. I smoke cool filter kings, and I've smoked them for a very long time. I've quit smoking several times, once for 4 years, once for 2 years, once for 6 months. It's different things, but for some reason, I'm addicted to the nicotine, or I just like the inhaling and the exhaling. I don't like the smell and I don't like the taste, but I damn sure want to cool every chance I get. Um, some say, well, why would you be smoking and you have, your heart and everything that's wrong with my body or whatever, and I have to do something. We live in a cruel and cold world, and I don't do drugs, and I drink every now and then, and yeah, I love a drink every now and then, but I've been smoking a very long time, and that's something that I do. I like it and I do it. I offer no excuse. I just, try to tell you where I'm coming from. I'm learning to do better on my communication, and I will get better. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, it's according to who the trainer is. You probably really can, because as long as we have breath in our body, we have an opportunity to do something different. And I used to be a one-way seeing person and stubborn in my ways, and I've had I've had to concede to a lot of things, and I had to give up some of those ideas and some of those beliefs. And it was devastating for me when I found out how this thing really works, and I really understand how it works. But it's even sadder when you share it with people and they don't see it like you see it. And I don't know. I used to get ferociously mad, but I can't get ferociously mad at anybody because that's all we know. That's all we've been taught. And me being ferocious didn't mean shit. I was the only one upset about it. So what I've learned is you're not going to throw away anything. You don't have to get rid of your Bible, because the truth that is written is true. But it's also written in an anthropomorphic way, and that is, we do it to teach children. Okay? And then it's allegory. And Paul tells you as such that it's allegory, parables. So, what we have to do is learn to use our minds, because we've been so influenced and we've been actually steered away from using our minds. So, what I ask you again, to be open minded. You don't have to agree with me. I don't want to argue with anybody about, if we these people, if we those people, if we what. Law begins and ends with you. Our people created jurisprudence. Okay? So, with that being said, you can believe and think what you want. But I would ask you, as long as you've been believing what you believe, has anything for you changed? And we see a lot of beautiful things happening for beautiful people. Why we have to wait until we die and get an eternity before we can enjoy the fat of the land that we were promised? Because we all were promised the enjoyment of the fat of the land. If you work and do your part, be honest, you got to do these things. And I had mentioned about the Constitution, and someone was talking about the Ten Commandments. And as I stated before, it is so much bigger than that, and it's so much more. I do not profess to be the scholar of more science. I do not. I can only tell you is today I know what I know. I am not into, again, metaphysics, but it's definitely a part of who we are. And I wished I had a mind of mathematics. But after 1 plus 2 and after 1 minus 1, you can miss me on the rest. Numbers just sends my head in a spin. And I have enough issues. I don't need to be in a spin. So I want to thank you for joining me. And I'm going to do my best to try to make, a few more videos a little more often because I'm so grateful for the many of you that have come and spent your time looking at my videos. I am so grateful. You don't know how much because I was just going to do this whether I got subscribers or not. And I said, I'll just do it ahead if I'm just talking to myself. I get up here and do it because, as you can tell, I love talking. But I try to have something to say when I talk. And I try to encourage you to be the best you that you can be. We're going to have a hard time. And one of the things I know that we need to do and we can do because we've done it before, we need to get back into the honor of our elders and our children. And we need to get back to loving each other and respecting each other. And how do we do that? The way that we do that is one person at a time, starting with their own household. A lot of times we meet strangers and we'll hug and embrace them, but we won't even touch our family members. We have friends and, we get a relationship with their moms and their siblings and their, father if he's there. And we'll say, I love you, but we'll never tell our children or our siblings or our cousins that we love them. Those little things we can do. You never know what somebody is going through in the course of a day. You have no idea what they're going through. And sometimes just that little I love you or a little embrace or a touch means so much. So, with that being said, I'm going to get ready to get off, but I want you to know that I do have merchandise available. This is my shirt, Toothless Tiger, Fuck Them Teeth. I also have coffee mugs, I have drinking cups, I also have mouse pads, and I have journals. And I have an email, and I didn't run it at the bottom, but it's on my intro. And I hope y'all like my intro. I love it. And you can send, if you want to get a t shirt, you can send your size, your name, and an address to the email. And on that note, I'm going to say until the next time, study to show thyself approved. Study, study, study. And after you finish studying, then study yourselves. But study. That's the only way that we're going to change this thing around. We're going to have to learn some things. We're going to have to learn some things. And we're going to have to learn policy and procedure. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be successful. We've got to start learning finances. And I mean, we don't have to become a banker, but we do have to have a concept of what money is. We need to have a concept of what economy means. We need to have a concept of gold and silver. We need to have a concept of what inheritance means. We need to have a concept of trust laws. We need that. And if you study, you must study history and law together so that your concepts will be correct. If you don't do it, it doesn't mean that you're wrong, but your concept may be off. And so I ask you, please, when you study, study history and law together. And don't let anybody tell you that Google is not a good source, because it is, because everybody is going digital. We're in the, age where we're into the computer. So it may not always have the most accurate information, but I ask people to use their phones for something other than talking and playing games. That's a very expensive computer you have in your hand, and you can ask it anything, and it will give you an answer. Also, you can use resources like the Library of Congress. If it's some stuff that you hear me say or any one of the scholars I mentioned, if you go and look at their videos and they say something, check with the Library of Congress. Check with your state library, the law library. I will guarantee you, you will get some good information. Information is key. Knowledge is power. It is written, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So, again, join me on this path of knowing who you are. And together, I believe we can make a difference. Time is out, as we stated last night, for the marching. And it doesn't mean that we can't march for some reasons, but it is time to do. But as I stated, it's almost impossible to do for others when you can't do for yourselves. So we need to start getting honest with ourselves and, asking ourselves the questions that we need to ask ourselves. I believe in counseling. And so maybe you might need to want to seek out counseling. And I believe in counseling because you can get naked and not ashamed in your emotions. I mean, you don't have to pretend and lie, because this person, you're not going to see them in your everyday life. So therefore, you do not have to, pretend. You can be yourself. And I found for me, when I was being myself and when I would say things, some of the things that I thought that that person could answer for me, actually, I was answering them for myself. So, therapy, counseling, it does not solve your problems. It gives you an opportunity to hear yourself talk, and it gives the trained professional opportunity to give you another way of thinking, perhaps something you hadn't thought of. It works. It helped me. So, on that note, please hit the like button, make a comment, subscribe, and share. Thank everybody for coming back that's been here, and everybody that's coming in. I welcome you, and I will see you soon. And I heard somebody say this and it sounded good to me, so I'm going to say it to you guys in the next video. I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me. Again, Toothless Tiger, I'm outie.